Welcome to another episode of the Blue Crew, a New York Rangers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jonny Lazarus, joined by my good friend and co-host, Cody Frankel. First of all, just want to wish a happy Hanukkah to all the people that are celebrating. It's the first night as we're recording. And second of all, we are recording prior to the Rangers Blackhawks game. Both of us have some busy nights tonight, so we wanted to make sure we can record, but we want everyone to know that we haven't watched the game yet. So before we do dive into anything, either yay, we're on a 7-game win streak, or fuck, I can't believe we lost to the Blackhawks. Cody, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, we can't be losing to the Blackhawks again. We'll start with it as simple as that. But yeah, how was your weekend? You had a fun little weekend.
Yeah, I had a good weekend. And also, I should note, too, we have a great interview today with Jackie Redmond, host of the NHL Network. She hosts so much different shit. She's actually just, unbelievable. We had a great time talking to her. My weekend was good. I went to the restaurant 12 Chairs on Friday night and Saturday night. Had some friends over.
You went there both nights?
Well, we catered it on Friday night to the apartment, and then I went there on Saturday night. And I'm pretty honestly, I don't know if you hear my voice, but I'm pretty shot right now. I'm also just tomorrow, it's like, all right, everyone kind of just fucks off till the holidays, right? These next 2 weeks are kind of just no one really wants to do so much, but at the same time, you got to get your shit done before the new year. So it's a weird 2-week span here. How was your weekend though? I know you had a little getaway.
My weekend was sick. Yeah, it was really good. I went away with the wife, and we went to Kingston, which is upstate New York by Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome, man. We stayed at a boutique hotel.
Did you go to camp?
No, we didn't end up going to camp.
Forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah. We didn't know if we'd have enough time, but we're gonna make a trip there eventually. But yeah, it was sick. Last night we went to some bar. It was one of the coolest bars I've ever seen.
Explain.
It was just why. I have a picture. I have a picture of inside, but basically outside had super nice fire pits, super nice glass fire pits. It was really cool. It's definitely kind of similar vibes probably to Talk House, summertime,
okay
that. But here, I don't know if you could see it, but this was the inside. It was sick.
That is cool. I think Jackie might have posted a picture of it. I think I might have saw that.
Yeah. So it was really cool. It was a really good time, and the food up there was great. The people were great. Yeah, it was just really, all in all, really good. But yeah, I mean, that being said, I think we could talk some Rangers, right?
Yeah, no, and the winning streak is continuing. I think I don't want to change all my opinions because I'm still not necessarily sold that this team is gonna keep it up.
You're a fraud, but they are.
I'm a fraud?
Yeah, you're a fraud. Yeah. Yeah, no, they're for sure going to keep it up. Like I said, never had any, any doubt there. I knew they'd pick it up sooner or later. And I think this is a good hockey team. I think they just needed to switch things up a little bit. And, everybody's been asking for a long time, put the kid line together, so I think it was just a matter of finding the right combinations. And I think GG knew that, and he even said something about he didn't want to keep switching the lines, but he felt he had to do something there. And I agree. I mean, I think there comes a time where you can only go with your big guys so much, but if they're not producing, you got to switch it up and give some other players some chances. So it's been working out the last 6 games, and man, they've beaten three top 5 teams in these last 6 games. So very, very good looking coming into this week, and into obviously this week's slate. We, as Jonny mentioned, we didn't watch the Blackhawks game that we would already have the results at, this time. But I think they're looking good. I think they're looking good.
Want to hear a crazy stat about the win streak also?
Yeah.
In the Rangers' last 5 games, obviously also this is not including the Blackhawks game, they've only had 5 power play attempts.
That's crazy.
Isn't that pretty wild? They're not getting...
They're scoring even strength. They're scoring even strength goals.
They're winning games, and it's not them relying on the power play to get it done. Sure, the power play is scoring goals when they do have a chance. Let me just look at the stat quick. They've scored in those. Oh, it might be 4 games actually. 5 power play chances in 4 games, and they've scored 2 out of those 5. 2 out of the 5 power plays.
Dude, it's not crazy to say the Rangers got their swagger back. I think it's.
Well, I think also we can talk about Keandre Miller. That goal he scored last night against Philly was
disgusting.
Fucking sick, and he needed to get his swagger back a little bit too, because I think he had arguably the highest expectations I think out of anyone coming to the season, maybe aside from Igor Shesterkin. But Miller has definitely not taken off this year like I think a lot of us anticipated. But maybe that goal.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Can I say something? I
This is your
think.
podcast. You can say whatever you want.
Thank you so much, sir. I think a good amount of that might be attributing and coming from Trouba. I'm being honest. Like, I hate to say it, but
You
like,
think he's bringing him down?
yeah, he has been so awful that it's like, when somebody's slacking a lot and like you don't pick up the slack, I feel like you kind of stoop to their level a little bit. And I don't know, maybe he got lazy, maybe he needed a change of pace, whatever. But he's looked good the last 3 or 4 games. He's looked really good. And then last night, that goal, I don't know if you heard the interview, but he said he blacked out a little bit. It was, it was pretty funny. And he does that, I feel like, once or twice a year, where he'll just have the craziest goal, like the most. He did it last year. He did the year before. Like, he just has the craziest goal. And then it's like, he kind of comes back to reality a little bit, but you see the flash of like greatness. And I mean, if this guy can, be that type of defenseman where he can give that to us more consistently, oh my goodness gracious, is he going to be good for us?
Well, that's what I think the point I was trying to make was that he is so effective when he's on. Like, honestly, I would argue that K'Andre Miller is, probably one of the most noticeable players on the, like, if not every shift, like when he is on his game, like, when he's out there. Like last year, we saw so many flashes of it. And I think this year, not to add pressure, but I think it is a contract year for him, right? Like his entry level deal is coming up. So maybe that's added pressure. I don't know. Or, to your point, maybe Trouba's play is kind of bringing him down a little bit, but man, like K'Andre Miller, last year we were talking about him potentially being a, future Norris candidate. And now I feel like that hasn't even been a conversation, but I think, a goal like this just gets you so much confidence.
You see the potential.
He can get going.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great individual effort all around. Like he made the play in the D zone and then, to fall down, get back up and go backhand forehand on Carter Hart, who's been really good this year, honestly, was just.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. And you did mention he's on a contract year. And that's something that I wanted to discuss before we go into fan questions. We have very tough decisions to make this summer. We talked about it a little bit with Jackie, where the cap's only going up $1 million, which sucks, frankly. I mean, it's going to be really tough. And I know it's far away, but it's every month it's getting closer, right? In September, we were like, oh, we're not going to talk about it until later. Like, we're now almost in January. And they're going to have to make decisions soon. The trade deadline's still a ways away, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. They could look to deal one of our 3 young guys to get back a different type of return, because I just don't know how they are possibly going to figure out a way to keep Lafreniere, K'Andre, and Hedl all on this roster next year when we're already tight on the cap as is. And we're not going to have much money. Like, the only way I personally can see something like happening and getting these guys to stay is like moving that Trouba contract, moving a type of Kreider contract. Like, even Gaudreau would help a little because you can kind of swap one in. But I just don't see any of these guys moving. Like, nobody's going to take on Trouba. I don't even know if I would take on Trouba if I was another GM, if the Rangers offered me a first round pick. Like, I don't even know if I would take on Trouba's contract. Would you?
It's hard to say you would, right? Like,
right.
There's nothing I can even say to kind of back it up. It's I have to agree with you. I don't have any counter argument.
Yeah, so it's really tough, and I would say at this point, like, Loff hasn't taken off how we'd hoped, right? Like, because he's not getting power play one time, whatever, but he's still playing like decent. He does have his flashes where he's just absolutely non-existent, but he's still playing decent. And I think at this point, like, the Rangers would be smart to look to try and lock him up, right? If they do want to lock him up, assuming he wants to play for us. Like,
well, yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or I don't want to go off path, but I know that was a conversation we wanted to have.
Yeah, we can talk about that. The only thing I want to say is, like, if they're going to lock him up long term, like, they'll probably be smart to look to do it in like the 4s at this point, like 4.5 million, like a Strome type contract, whatever. I feel like K'Andre would be a little lower, maybe. And then you have Hedl as well, and Hedl's like easily played himself into a new contract. So it's going to be, it's going to be really interesting. And Drury really has his work cut out for him, because I have no idea what route he is going to go. And I don't envy him, because I think whatever route he's going to go, fans are not going to be happy, because I just can't see Trouba or Kreider or even Gaudreau, who has like, I think he has like a 12-team no trade or something. Like, I can't see any of these guys moving or waving it to move when they're about, the Rangers have a chance to win the cup. So That being said, yeah, let's go into Lafreniere a little bit. So take it away.
Well, I know we were talking about it at the game that we were at. Cody and I went to the Leafs game, and I don't want to necessarily say he like looks disinterested, because obviously we've seen his personality come through, and he's a very upbeat kid, and you can kind of see that and get
distracted is the right
but,
word.
No, I think just like he's just not that like noticeable. I don't know.
Well, that's what I said. He goes missing from time to time.
Yeah.
Like I've said this since he's been a Ranger. He's a very easy guy to like knock off the puck. Like you see him going in.
But that's just him being young still.
But I'm saying like regardless, like you see him making plays and trying to make plays, whatever. And then like he just doesn't follow things through, I feel like almost.
Yeah, I think it's the battle level, like the competitiveness.
Yeah,
just
the
doesn't seem to be
intensity.
there. Intensity is probably the best word. Like,
yeah,
in that first round.
I was gonna say, should we ask him what grit means to him?
Literally, we'll DM him. But I think we've talked about it on here before. Like, last year Laf was like, I think maybe our second leading hitter. Yeah. And he played so aggressive, and it was really noticeable in that Penguin series. He was everywhere, all over the ice. And I think for whatever reason this year, you haven't seen much of that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's confidence. I really don't have the answer. But all I know is like, I remember, last year I was on the campaign, like Lafreniere is the prettiest skater in the league because he was just so noticeable. And now, I'm like, fuck, like, did he even have a scoring chance in this game? Like, I don't, it's just, you're not seeing as much.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong one bit. And something that I wonder is like, we know he didn't break out last year, right? He didn't have the year everybody was hoping he would have and so on, but he was a very physical type of player. And I'm almost wondering if he maybe tried to change that a little bit this year and tweak some things so that he could break out and become that, generational superstar that everybody was hoping he would be. So I'm almost wondering if maybe he tweaked something, like gave up a little bit of the physical play, but was more so pushing towards like the skill and the prettiness type of play. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, I don't know what else it could be.
No, me either. And just, he's not really shooting. He's not shooting a lot. Like, I don't know. I don't see what I saw a lot last year. I'm just trying to look at the
needs to be on power play one, man. I'm still going to campaign that regardless that Trocheck scored that goal the other night. I still think Lafreniere needs to be on power play one. And if not, like, if some crazy thing happens and he does leave, just some other team is going to put him on power play one. So, I said it the other night, like he's on pace. He would be on pace for over 50 points if he was on power play one. So like, I don't see why, I know Gallant doesn't want to keep changing things, but I would argue that would help him, give him his confidence back for whatever he's lost. Like that will help him get there. And I really don't want to harp on this too much. I mean, he is, he's a great player and he can be an excellent player, but
I fucking love him.
I love him. And I want him to be here for a really long time. I think, it's a bad year for this to happen to him because this is the year the Rangers have to make decisions. And like, no matter what decision they make, whether it's Keandre, Hedl, Loff, anyone else, like it's not going to be looked good upon for fans unless it's Jacob Trouba. And I'm telling you right now, there is zero team in this league, no team that is going to take on Trouba's contract, even if it's with a first round pick. Like, I just don't see it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think we're just gonna have to wait out and see. Like, and I know I say that all the time because I hate talking about contracts and trades and all that.
You're
shit.
a baby. Yeah.
Well, until it actually has to happen. Like everything's, it's all hypothetical, but like, people love having that conversation. Like we have fans,
you have to have that conversation.
Our listeners, ask us about fucking contracts every week. So like, it's just a conversation you got to have. It's just not where I put my focus, I guess. But do you want to go into fan questions? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one we got, I think it's actually a new listener, Pete Maloney, 82. Okay. Who's y'all's favorite players? You want to start?
Yeah, I think, my favorite two have always been Panarin and Mika. Those will always be my 1 and 2. I would say 3 is like, it's probably Lafreniere. Just Starkin is a close 4th. I love everyone. Like I love mostly everyone, I should say, on this team. But in terms of like my guys, I would say Panarin, Mika, and probably Loff.
For me, I think Fox, Lafreniere. And this year, maybe third, I'll give Julian Gauthier. He's been
That's ridiculous.
and like obviously when Jonesy's up, he's there too. But like, yeah, I don't know. I've always kind of in high school I had an Artem Anisimov jersey. Like I've never really
You've always been a weirdo. Yeah, no, we get it.
No, I don't love like I don't fall in love with the best players in the team. I like to pick the guy. Well, obviously you can say Foxy's probably one of the best in the team, but I've always been drawn to like the
Foxy and Igor. You say the two most talented guys on the team.
I didn't say Igor, but I've always been drawn to like the middle.
Wait, who did you say second?
Lafreniere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love Laf.
Yeah. We all. I have his jersey, man. I need this kid to be a stud so I could rock it wherever I go. You know what I mean?
That's facts. Do you want to know the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, this one's from Perry Kunavelis. What does Philip Heedle's future with the team look like? Is he moved at the deadline or is he re-signed?
I mean, we just talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into it a little bit again.
Is he moved before you do?
Yeah.
If anyone has the most value at the deadline, it's got to be him.
Oh, no question about it.
No doubt, right?
No question about it. Yeah. I mean, he showed what he can do in the playoffs. He showed he's not only can he do that in the playoffs, but he's a clutch player. He scored the OT winner. Like he's a legitimate clutch player, and those are hard to come by. Another guy like you look at like that is I don't even want to say it, but like there, I was gonna say, and I'm not comparing Heedle to this guy, so we all get it. So we all put it on the record. I'm not comparing him to this guy, but another player who is very clutch when his team needs him is Sidney Crosby. Okay, so
oh god, you're gonna get killed for that.
No, I'm not, because I said I'm not comparing him whatsoever. I'm just saying Heedle is a clutch player, and there's not that many clutch players in the league who come.
You're gonna get fucking destroyed for that.
Who else?
Huh?
All right, kill me, whatever. who else can you think of? Like, I'm trying to think. There was a guy.
I mean, Crosby's like as clutch as it gets.
Oshie's clutch. TJ Oshie's a guy who back in the day I would say is clutch too. Crosby was just the first guy who came to mind, but like
I'd say Gensel even too.
Gensel's clutch. Yeah, sure. I mean, and again, we're not comparing Heedle to any of these players.
Logan Couture, maybe.
Who?
Logan Couture. He's pretty clutch.
Maybe.
He's a center. I think he plays wing.
Yeah, he plays wing, but maybe. But regardless, I just don't think there's too many clutch players in the league. And I think having one such as Heedle on our team, like, that's incredibly important. He's going to be incredibly valuable at the deadline.
I'm just laughing at you.
Fuck you, dude.
I just know people are going to be tweeting like,
no, because the difference is I clarify things instead of you being like, yeah, Lafreniere and Heedle could be the next Crosby and Letang. Like, Letang's a defenseman, dude. What are you doing? But anyways, I don't know, man. I don't think he's going to get moved at the Heedle. I don't think he's going to get moved at the deadline. I just don't see it. They need him for the stretch run regardless. That being said, I feel like they're going to, and I've been a Heedle hater for a long time. My stance has changed on him ever since the Penguin series. I think this team needs him. This team needs him now. And I think he's, I think they got to re-sign him. Like, fine. I would lock him up to a 4 or 5 year deal, honestly.
Can they do that?
Yeah.
Do they have the space?
Can. No, they have this. Right now they have the space to probably sign 2 out of the 3 guys. And that's only because Keandre and Loff haven't taken off how they should have yet. So that's the only reason. That being said, there's no chance they can sign all 3 without moving some type of money.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Good stuff on that one. Very well said.
You, baby.
So this one's from Maddie McFly, the chosen one. Did the fan base take the mediocre start too hard?
I know Jonny did.
Me? I was defending Gerard Gallant the whole time.
Yeah, you want to kick
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's New York sports fans. We overreact about everything. Like this is how it is. Like,
Knicks fans are tweaking right now, and they won 6 straight, and they're still gonna finish 37-52. Like,
MSG's been buzzing right now with the Rangers and Knicks, but I think it's just part of being in New York, and you just expect greatness always. And Cody and I were saying it, the Rangers were like 11-10-5, and you wanted the coach fired. Like, it's really at the end of the day, like that's not a bad record at all. So, listen, Ranger fans, we always take things a little too hard, I think, when they're negative, but the positives also, I think we overstretch. So like, last year we thought this team was the greatest team in the world, which, obviously they were amazing, but like when it comes down to the grand scheme of things, like, this was the team we had. We just had a goalie that was fucking incredible. And he's getting back to that too, which is huge. So listen, I think that's the part of, being a fan that's most fun. You get to kind of over exaggerate when things are good and when things are bad. And, it's something that I kind of just expect from Ranger fans. But I think like to that same point, I think we have to be a little bit reasonable. Like, when fans are saying trade Panarin, like that's just fucking stupid, So
yeah.
That's my answer to that. I don't know if you want to follow up with that.
Nah, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I don't really have more to add. I think that Jonny pretty much covered it.
Okay, so let's go into the last one. This is from NY Rocky 93, loyal listener. Gaudreau, a top 6 player. Wasn't a fan at first, but he's made me eat my words. LOL.
Yeah, I don't think he's a top 6 player, regardless. But I think right now it makes a little bit more sense to have him on the top 6. The thing about Gaudreau, and I said it either last week or 2 weeks ago, he's a very good plug and play player. A guy who, if you need him for a couple games to play on line 1, he can do it. If you need him to play on line 2, he can do it. 3, he can do it, and 4, he can do it. So kind of how you say it in like baseball, he's a great utility player, right? He can play all different positions. He can play all different lines. So he's an incredibly valuable guy right now, especially as we don't have that top 6 guy based on how our lines have looked. That being said, I would personally make the argument to put Jimmy Vesey on line 1 because he has been tearing it up these last few games.
Well, that's also how they started the season.
Yeah. But I mean, I think he's looked really good. I think he's especially got his swagger back. He found his mojo again with the Rangers. I hope it continues for him. He was a very highly touted player once upon a time, and that would be my argument for putting a guy on the first line. But I mean, Gaudreau is not a top 6 player.
Yeah,
is the moral of the story.
I completely agree. I don't think Barclay Gaudreau not like doesn't deserve it, but I don't think he really belongs in the top 6. I think last year was his career high year. He had 33 points last year. Like anyone who's putting up 33 points, like obviously unless you're like a young rookie in the league, like shouldn't really be in the top 6. But listen, he's a great player. He does a lot of things well. He hasn't been at his best this season, but he played really well against the Flyers. Had a beautiful goal, beautiful assist to Panarin. So. If he can produce in the first line, keep him there until he doesn't. That's my opinion, but I don't think he really is a top 6 player, like at all.
Yeah, not bad.
But that's all we got for fan questions. Any final thoughts before we go into our interview with Jackie Redmond?
No, great interview. You guys are really gonna like it, and that's that.
All right, let's kick it over to Jackie. This week on the Blue Crew, we are honored to have on a new friend of mine, new friend of the show. If you know hockey, you know her. She's probably the queen bee, the face of NHL media, but also does some WWE stuff. Welcome to the show, our friend Jackie Redmond. Jackie, what's going on?
I'm so excited to hang out with you guys. How's it going? I mean, I would be more excited if we were coming off of a Leafs win over the Rangers. Okay. I'm not going to pretend and be fake for the audience. I know the audience here is Rangers all the way, but I will eat crow today after a Leafs loss and a solid performance by your New York Rangers. But I'm excited to be here.
So before we do talk shit about the Leafs-Rangers game last night, which honestly I thought was kind of a boring game, Cody and I went together.
Yeah,
it is time to be real. So I know you love to do be real. And I just got mine, so I'm gonna do it right now.
I got my notification while I was putting my lashes on, and I had one lash on and one lash off, and I was like, "Should I?" And
That's
I was
super real of you,
right? It would have been very real of you, but I'm not quite there yet.
I waited like 10 minutes so I could do it now, so I'm doing mine literally right now. So give us some, guys. Cody, doofus ass smile.
Be real.
But yeah, so the game last night, Cody and I were there. Not too exciting. But people are debating, like right now, I guess we're a little biased. You're probably a little biased. If you had to pick who is the better team between the two, Rangers and Leafs right now, who would you say is the better team to this point of the season?
Oh, I would say to this point of the season, it's the Leafs just because of their record and the run that they just went on. I mean, they don't lose in regulation for over a month. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due for that. But on the whole, I think it's a fair question in terms of talking about projecting the rest of the season, only because I think we know exactly what we're getting from Igor Shesterkin, right? Like that's a bona fide stud. And it's no disrespect to Matt Murray or Samsonov, who have had great I mean, they've actually been ridiculously good as a tandem. But I just wonder, is this going to last for a full 82 game slate and then into the postseason? And like Murray is always this guy that could get hurt, right? So for me, when I look at the goaltending, if I'm going, where do I feel more solid and more confident? It's actually with Shesterkin, even though he had a slower start to the season and is just kind of finding his groove now. I just feel like I would have more faith in him over the big picture than I would.
Mm-hmm.
The Leafs goaltending still makes me nervous. Like, guys get close to Murray and I'm like, oh God, don't get hurt.
He needs like plastic bubble wrapping.
Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out in the long term, but I think both teams are very exciting. And I was surprised actually that it was such a low event hockey game last night, because we're getting close to the holiday. The Leafs have been on a ridiculous tear. So I was like, they're due to like make some mistakes and be a little sloppy, which should open the game up and it should be wild, like 6-4 finish or something like that. And we got the complete opposite. Like, we got such a low scoring game compared to what's going on in the league right now. Like, how often do we get that?
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because Jonny and I usually do predictions, and we both predicted like
I think I said 4-2 Leafs.
5-4. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jonny's so rude, and he didn't even ask about your background and, you know, stuff like that. So I'll jump in, and I would love to know, you know, how do you find your love for sports? I obviously absolutely have to ask, how different is your approach when, you know, working with the NHL and WWE, because they really couldn't be more different. So I would love to, you know, hear a little bit about that.
Well, I'll start with the first question, which is, where does my love of sports come from? So when I was a kid, I played everything under the sun, including hockey. Hockey and baseball were my main sports, but I was a pretty big tomboy as a kid. My sister and I both were. So I think I just was a competitive kid. I played a lot of sports. And then I have a really, really solid relationship with my dad. Shout out Steve-O. And so when I was a kid, I would watch Leafs games and Jays games with him. And as I got older and was staying up later and was making it to the end of the game, I just wanted to keep going. And my dad is one of those fans that listens to sports talk radio and would listen to those post-game call-in shows where people would call in and ask questions, crazy, some logical. And so as I got older, I would stay up with him and I would listen to those shows. And over time, I think it just grew my love of the Leafs and just hockey in general.
Yeah.
Over time, kind of in a subconscious way. And then for me, like, I didn't realize this when I was 9, but as I have succeeded in my career and kind of gotten to where I'm at now, I've realized that, like, my dad in those days would like turn down the radio, and let's say the question was like, should Darcy Tucker be playing with Matt Sundin, which happened at one point. They're on the same line. And so he would turn down the radio and we would talk about it together.
Oh, that's
and he
great.
would just treat me like one of his boys. And he just was like, he was just a huge fan. We would have talked to the wall if I wasn't there. But I think just subconsciously, he kind of instilled in me this idea that, like, I can be in this conversation and I can have an opinion about this. And so as I got older, and I found myself, you know, getting in arguments in high school with different people about what was going on with the Leafs or the Jays. I kind of was like, oh, maybe like I should follow this. Like, I seem to hold my own and I'm more comfortable talking about this than anything else. Like, that was the most comfortable I ever was in high school, when everything is so awkward and everyone's trying to fit in. Like, I felt most myself when I was just shooting the shit about hockey. So that's kind of where it all started, and how it sort of came to be is really at the core of it is just my tight relationship with my dad. And then the second question was WWE versus NHL.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Like, I love covering wrestling, and WWE is the thing I love about it is that there is never a dull interview in WWE. It's like, these are performers, and so when they get that 2 minutes, they're like, this is my chance to sell. Like, I can sell myself here. If I can sell myself over time and sell more merchandise and put people in the seats because they want to see me, then I'm going to get paid more. I'm going to have a better career. I'm going to hang around, yada, yada, yada. So they are just firing on all cylinders when it comes to doing spots.
The complete fucking opposite.
Obviously, it's a lot harder. And I get it, because, you know, they're fighting for something and they're focused on the game, and they're taught from a very young age to, you know, talk about the team and act a certain way. Although I do think we are starting to transition out of that. I don't know if you guys agree, but I feel like even in sports broadcasting too, you look at the last 10 years specifically, it has changed so dramatically what it means to be a sportscaster. You don't have to be a hardcore journalist or an insider to make it as a non-former player or coach anymore in sports broadcasting. If you can be a personality or bring something to the table that maybe someone else can't, then you can actually have a really, really successful career with a network or on the internet. So I love that about our industry. And I think we're seeing it a little bit in hockey as well. Guys just more willing to kind of show who they are and do photo shoots and walk their cat and like whatever it is and like talk about it. You know what I mean? So, and I love that because I think that, you know, the speed can sell the game, the skill can sell the game, and that's all good and well. But people need to feel connected to you and they need to relate to you on some level or not relate to you. Like who walks a cat, but like, it's something to just be like, oh, I can connect with this individual because they love The Office and I love The Office and I love hearing this person talk about that. So I hope it just continues to get better and better and better because it absolutely does not take away from the team first mentality to talk about your favorite fucking TV show. So it's like, do it more.
Yeah. And something I always loved about wrestling, and I wasn't a big wrestling fan growing up.
I didn't even know you were a wrestling fan.
No, I wasn't. But one thing I always like admired in their performances is whenever they're talking, just their pauses and then the stares were just incredible. Like in between each sentence was just so amazing. And I always admired that.
Yeah, they can cut a promo, that's for sure. And the best in the business are insanely good at it. I mean, The Rock is one of the best of all time.
John Cena too,
John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I agree with you. I just love a good stare down in WWE.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about wrestling, so I can't really contribute. So I'm just going to transition
do
somewhere else.
Do you like when sports crowds chant?
Yeah.
Okay,
he's
so
very anti-social.
WWE because they do that a ton. Like they come up with all these different chants, and they're very much a hot crowd, as we say in wrestling, is always amazing because they become like a part of the show. Much like, you know, when Tavares went back to Long Island for the first time in the crowd. That was like WWE-esque the way that game went down.
Not to go back into Leafs Rangers, but I actually did see some discourse on Twitter today about Leafs fans like loving the Rangers goal song and wanting it to be more like interactive with the fans. And that was like a big debate I saw on Twitter today. Cause in my, like, you know, biased opinion, the Rangers goal song is the best in the league, but
listen, I don't want to be a traitor, but I will. I hate the Leafs goal song.
With the Hall Notes.
I just think like it's tired. Like they've been doing it for a long time. I think coming into this season, it was like, all right, the big question is, are the Leafs different? Can they be different? Like, let's change some of the mojo up a little bit. So to go back to the same goal song, I think a lot of fans were disappointed by that. And I don't think I'm alone. I think there's a solid section of Leafs fans that already don't like, and not that they don't like the song, they just don't like it as the goal song for the Leafs. And so I'm not surprised that there's some compliments going around for the Rangers goal song because it's catchy. I go to Rangers games. It's hard not to get into it and start like bopping along when it plays and being a part of it. So it's Rangers won the game. They also have a better goal song. Like I gotta cap it there. I can't, no more compliments.
I do have a heavy hitting one though for you. And, you know, something that I like about you a lot is that, you know, you are kind of a traditionalist when it comes to the sport of hockey, but you also are very open to new ideas and new ways of thinking. And something like around this time of year that I always think about is, you know, Thanksgiving, you kind of think about the NFL and having staggered games. Christmas Day, you have the NBA with their staggered games, and the holidays and like, you know, ways to rally a family on the couch and watch a sport all day. Like for me, I love the bubble because there was hockey on all fucking day.
Isn't the bubble awesome? I mean, I was working, but I just was so jealous because I was in the bubble doing every single game. Like I was doing a pregame hit and a postgame hit for every game, 12, 4, 8. It was the hardest I've ever worked in my entire life. But I remember seeing Twitter and just being like, oh, like I want to be on my couch drinking beer and just watching the games. Like I'm so grateful for what I do, but I just felt I had serious FOMO, like watching everyone else just kick up their feet and watch hockey all day long.
Well, to that point, I feel like the NHL right now, you can kind of argue that we own New Year's Day with the Winter Classic, but those other sports, like I said, the NBA owns Christmas Day, the NFL owns Thanksgiving. What can the NHL do to maybe, I know there was like a talk about rivalries coming back a little bit more next season, but what do you think, or what's an idea maybe that you have in the back of your head that the NHL can do to have like one day a year where there's just staggered games all day and the fans are like, this is our day?
I think the question becomes, what day do they do it? Because Christmas Day's off the table, American Thanksgiving's off the table, because you're not gonna try to go toe to toe with two very established traditions for sports fans. So like, what day is it for hockey? Is it New Year's Day? But then it takes away from the Winter Classic, so you can't really do that. Although the Winter Classic is on the 2nd this year, so that's kind of a shortfall. Yeah, it's on Monday the 2nd. So I don't know why. I've not really looked into it, but it's on the 2nd. So maybe New Year's Day is a day that you could do it. But I think it's just when do you do it and how do you do it? When are all hockey fans going to be not working and at home and available? I guess would be that logistically, I think would probably be the biggest thing, but they should absolutely figure out a way to do it.
Yeah. Only if we played hockey in July, but Canada
Day would be a good day to do it. That's free agents. Oh no, that's July. Yeah. July 1st.
I don't know when Canadian Thanksgiving is, but I feel like that could be some sort of.
Well, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea, because Canadian Thanksgiving is always the first week in October, depending where the weekend falls. Sometimes it's there's a couple days of October and then it's Thanksgiving, and sometimes it's there's Thanksgiving and then October starts. Anyways, point being, it is always right in the first week of the NHL season. So that'd be a great way to be hockey's back. Let's watch games all day long on Canadian Thanksgiving. Maybe that's not a bad idea. It's kickoff to the NHL season.
Yeah. We'll pitch it.
Yeah. All right. I want to ask one here. I promise you Rangers fans will not hate you regardless of what you choose. But you have three incredibly, dynamic and young teams right now in the Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. They all have dynamic core groups right now. So if you had to rank the three in order on who you build your future around for the next 5 years, who would you go with?
Definitely not.
Man, I am gonna get some hate for this one. I just know it. Okay, so no disrespect to the Islanders, but they're going to be in my 3 spot.
Yeah, they're the easy out.
Yeah.
I'm like, Isles Twitter is
fierce.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry. I will turn off my mentions and not look at them for a little bit after this goes out. But yeah, so Islanders in the 3 spot. Rangers and Devils is hard, but I'm going to go Rangers 1, Devils 2. Because I consider Shesterkin a part of that core. And for me, that's the X factor. That's it for me. That's what makes or breaks it. We had the conversation the other day on NHL Now, and people are going to hate this in New York. Who's the biggest star in New York? And I was trying to make the case that it's actually Jack Hughes, New York metro area. And I know he's in Jersey, but if you live around here, it's all kind of lumped into one.
Yeah.
New York metro area. And I was I don't know. I think Jack Hughes, right now in this moment, not overall, not in comparing careers, but I think right now in this moment, he might be the most exciting young player in the New York metro area for me. But
he's also just a fucking man.
He is.
I love him.
This is the case I tried to make because I was talking to the guys from Missing Curfew, and they're it's got to be someone on Broadway. There's nothing like the Big Apple, and I'm I get it. And Panarin's amazing and a hell of a player, obviously. But Jack Hughes just has this swagger about him, the way he looks like a star. He has an amazingly skillful game. He goes highlight reel. His interviews are off the hook. It's he's got all of the things to make a superstar.
He's for sure a very, very talented player.
Cody shits on me because I love him.
Being Rangers biased, I would go, I would go 1A, 1B, Jack Hughes and Igor right now, just because on the sense that Igor literally can put the team on his back. And when
if this was last year, I would have said Igor. To answer the who's the biggest star in the New York, it would have been Igor. If there wouldn't have been anyone close.
Yeah. But I see the argument for it for sure. So, but listen, at least we'll take the win where we can on you giving the Rangers number 1. So,
but I want to build off that.
A big thing with the Rangers as well. And you know what? You can make this case for the Devils. They have a couple of first overall picks. They have some very high picks in their squad too that are coming into their own. But I think watching the Rangers, I don't want to say there's more pressure on the Rangers, but there is. There just is because of who they are as a team. But it's nice to see Capo and Laugh and these guys sort of kind of figuring out a way to take that next step, which is going to be huge if the team's going to do anything legitimate this year.
Well, speaking of pressure, I think everyone can agree that before last season, I think as far as superstars that need to win a cup go, Nathan McKinnon probably had the most pressure out of anybody, even over McDavid and over Matthews and all those guys, just because his longevity in the league.
He's been
But
around
now,
longer.
what's up?
It's just that because he's been around longer, right?
Yeah, exactly. So now, it's such an interesting argument, and I feel like this would be something that you would love to dive into also, just because there is so much pressure individually on McDavid, I feel like, to win a Stanley Cup, but there's also that added pressure for Matthews to win a cup just because of where he is.
Yeah.
So now that McKinnon's got his, who do you think in the league has like that, monkey on their back that they just have to win a cup in order to, start building their legacy?
It's such a good question. It's hard not to think about Matthews versus McDavid there, just because they both, it's crazy to think that these guys have been around for as long as they have now.
Yeah.
I feel like we're still looking at McDavid and Matthews in their infancy, but we're not, not even close. I think it has to be one of them, though, because they both played in these crazy big markets. Yeah. There's a ton of pressure. I do think the pressure is different, though.
It's like team versus individual. So it's like,
I do. There's more pressure on the Leafs to win a cup, but I do think for McDavid, it's becoming this thing where it's like, this guy's on pace for 70 goals or whatever it is this year. He runs away with the scoring race every year. He's so dynamic and amazing on his own, but it's like, he's starting to get that Ovechkin, footnote of okay, but can you win? Can you make the players around him better? I don't care what anyone says. Sidney Crosby has turned good players into great players. You can try to convince me this player would have been a superstar with no. Crosby gets some credit for some of the guys that he's played with being unbelievable over the years.
Connor Sherry.
And everyone always says, oh, it's easy to play with Crosby. No, actually, it's not easy to play with those guys. I actually talked to Mike Sullivan about this last year, not to go on a tangent, but I was like, is this a dumb question? What does it take to play with Crosby? Is it hard? And he was like, no, it takes a certain specific type of player, especially for Crosby.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to make little 2-foot passes in traffic. He's like, you have to be able to make the play, find the play and make the play in the chaos to play with Crosby, because he loves playing down low. He likes to just make big plays out of nothing. And so when he said that to me, I was like, I agreed with him. I was like, I don't think anyone can play with Crosby. I think it takes a certain level of hockey sense and a very specific type of skill. But anyways, that's just me.
No, it's a great point. And I think in today's NHL and even in the past, it's so few and rare where you have a player who makes everyone else around him better and can kind of elevate them. The only guy I've seen do it in recent, years has been Panarin. I just feel like his vision is out of this world. And you even saw it the other night when he passed it to Hedl for that OT winner. It's when he made that pass, I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then he sees the vision that nobody else can see. And it's just unreal.
He is an assist machine. It's wild. And I don't know, I'm sure in, I don't know if you guys call this Rangers Nation, but I'm sure for Rangers fans.
I don't even know if we have anything like that.
It's
the blue shirt
it gets enough hype. But I would say on a national level, I don't know how often I see people talking about Panarin's playmaking ability and the way that he can dish the puck, but to go back to the original question, I am going to say there's more pressure on Connor McDavid, only because he is, for most people, the best player in the world. If you're talking strictly offense, I would say everyone would say that he is the most dominant. He's the most dominant player in the NHL in terms of offense. You could probably make the case that Connor McDavid is one of, if not the most dominant offensive player in North American sports. Bring me somebody that dominates their league on an offensive, from an offensive standpoint. I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there that know more about the NBA that could probably bring someone to the table for me. But I think right now you could make the case for McDavid. And because of that, I think he needs to start getting some championships to add to his trophy case, because at the end of the day, it's all about, did you win?
Especially on that team too, because the other greats, Gretzky, Messier, they've all done it, so.
Yeah.
And we're still not giving McDavid MVP, right?
It's so hard. I think you have to give McDavid MVP if he separates himself from the rest of the playing field the way that it looks like he will. And if the Oilers stay in a playoff spot. If your team is not in the playoffs, like I am and you know this.
I know this is going to be talked about all year long.
Like for me, you can win MVP if you're not on a playoff team, but you better be a country fucking mile ahead of everybody else in whatever category it is that you're dominating offensively, because otherwise it's like you can't be 17 points out of a playoff spot at the end of the year and win the goal scoring race by 3 goals. And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to give Tage Thompson MVP. Like it just doesn't, if Tage Thompson's going to win MVP, he has to be like 8 or 9 goals ahead of the next person if the Sabres are going to be 8 points out of a playoff spot. At least that's how I sort of like.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
I know.
Are we going to talk about the Jimmy Vesey angle from last night?
Yeah, it was
nasty.
Disgusting.
Did you guys see Sheldon Keefe's post-game comment?
No. What did he say?
Okay, so I saw it this morning. To be fair, I have not visually seen the video. So maybe there's context missing. I want to throw that out there just in case. But I guess someone asked him, Luke Fox tweeted it, Sheldon Keefe asked about Jimmy Vesey scoring 2 goals against his former team. And Keefe goes, "Are we done?" And then the scrum ended. Like refused to even comment on it.
Wow.
And I was like, why are you so mad, Sheldon? Like, is it because you called Jimmy Vesey vanilla and then scored 2 goals against your team?
And Jonny didn't even know he played for the Leafs. I called him out on it. So
Well, it was like 25 games.
30 games.
It wasn't like he was the guy there was a documentary on Amazon Prime where there's
with Will Arnett.
So there's this All or Nothing, it's called, where Sheldon Keefe has a conversation with Vesey and tells him that his game is too vanilla.
Also, Vesey's dad
struggled, but like it was a bit of a story, right? For him to come out and have a revenge game, like I'm a Leafs fan, but I love narratives like that. So I was like, good for you, man. Like, stick it to him. I love it. Listen, I am a believer that like there's like an FU flow that you can tap into as an athlete. And if you have some players have that in their game all the time. It's what makes Brad Marchand is like a guy, like he has a lot of FU in his game. I think Mike Rupp is the first person to like frame it this way to me. And I was like, oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
And
it is good.
When you
gotta think of a way to say it on TV though.
Yeah, I know, right? I think Rucker might know. I think he found a different way to say it, but like that's his thing. It's like he has a lot of FU in his game, and I think obviously last night for BC he probably did. There's probably money on the board too.
I bet.
But all right, I only have one more for you, and it is an interesting topic. It was just announced pretty recently the cap's only getting raised by $1 million next year, and that's obviously going to be so hard on so many teams. So I'm really curious, what do you think goes into a league-wide decision like that, especially when the money with the cap in general has been so tight the past few years, obviously because of COVID and such?
Well, I'm not an economics expert,
but as figured.
But I think it's hard, and I think it's part of the reason that we're seeing kind of the state that the league is in right now. Like, I think there's a lot of cases to be made for why offense is up and why goal save percentage is the lowest it's been in, I think, like 6 or 7 years, something like that. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But in terms of the cap, it's just, I think it's kind of exposing people, like in terms of front offices, is like who can get the most creative and work through this, as opposed to who is going to continue to make decisions that don't really put your team in the best spot. Like there are no guarantees in sports or life. So I think, a lot of people were like, oh man, we thought the cap would go up a lot more, but it's like, you can't operate based on projections or assumptions unless you're at the very start of a rebuild. Then you can, with certain players, you can try to project what they're going to be. But, like the JT Miller contract, right, is a great example. Like, did Vancouver really need to do that in the middle of sort of, a situation where we're coming out of the pandemic? You kind of don't know exactly what you're going to have for the next couple of years. And then, you give JT Miller that contract full well knowing that you have other good players on your team that I would think probably want to try to sign. So,
that's a great example.
Yeah. Like, I just think it, for me, there, like I said, like no guarantees. So I think certain front offices are finding ways to make the most of it and find players on the cheap that can produce for them, and certain front offices that are going to have a really hard time. Like, what are the Minnesota Wild going to do? Like that's a team that is, I think their buyouts of Suter and Parise were necessary evils, but the penalties for it, like that team is going to have a hard time, working around all of that. But
I mean, so many teams are going to have a hard time. Like the Canucks now might have to deal Besser. They might have to figure something out for Horvat, and even the Rangers
create more parity though. And do we like that?
Right. And then like the Rangers are another team where they have 3 really young kids who are all going to be RFAs in Lafreniere, Kakko, and Keandre Miller. And it's like, they might have to make a decision on one of those guys. And it's tough when it comes down to situations like that. So I feel like so many teams are going to be presented with these really hard decisions come this offseason.
And I think too, call it parity or call it whatever. I feel like the gap between the really great teams and the good teams this year is smaller, I guess. Like I feel like the top tier of teams in the NHL, like how many would you be like, these teams are a mile ahead of everybody else? How many teams would you put up there?
It's because they're not letting Tampa manipulate the LTIR,
But there's a lot of teams that are rebuilding and going through a lot at the bottom, and then your middle tier is huge. So I feel like from a standing standpoint and from a fan standpoint, it's fun and it's exciting because you feel like your team can be in it longer, and a team like Pittsburgh can lose 7 in a row and then go on an absolute tear. Or
they're on a heater right now.
A lot of we've seen a lot of streaks, right? I think that's indicative of kind of what I'm talking about with there's really only a couple of real true upper echelon teams in the NHL. I forget where I was going with all this. It had something to do with the salary cap, but I have completely lost my train of thought on my off tangent. What was I trying to say? There was a point, I swear.
Well, I'll jump in here because it looks like Cody's got something to take care of. But a lot of you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. My the doormen don't stop pushing the buzzer sometimes.
Hey, I remember what I was gonna say is that the teams. So let's take the Rangers for example, right? The teams that make the right decisions in terms of who to sign and to how much and who to try to maybe trade or deal or whatever. Like I think those teams, if the teams that can succeed in this little pocket are going to thrive for a while just because of the situation that they're putting themselves in. And the teams that make the wrong decisions might feel it for a while. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But again, the cap, forget about it. I don't even try to be a cap expert. It's like I'm not. Like this is not my strength. I'm not a cap person.
Yeah.
I'm going cap friendly. I understand the basics, and that's about it.
That's me too on this show. Cody's
no front office in my history, right?
Yeah.
Or in my future.
Yeah. So I only have 2 more, and I promise I'll try to keep it to 2 because usually 2 turns into 5 for me. But
okay.
I'll start with this one. A lot of your job is having to come up with storylines, right? Like you have to create that conversation, create the narrative. So for you right now in the NHL this season, what would you say is either the most overhyped story that maybe it's not as cool or as fun as it seems, or the most underhyped story? Because there is a lot, we talk about not having so many elite teams, but Linus Ullmark is on fucking fire, and I feel like no one's talking about it really that much, So what would you say is not being talked about enough or is talked about too much?
I did put Linus Ullmark in my top 5.
Is it Linus? It's Linus?
Yeah. Linus Ullmark, who I did put in my top 5 purchase.
I saw that.
Some people did not like that because Connor Hellebuck has been insane for the Jets. I think his goal saved above expected might be number 1 in the NHL. At least it was I
think it's Vejmelka on Arizona.
Yeah.
Right now.
I mean, teams are getting Vejmelka. What are you going to do? But I think in terms of an underhyped story, and we're in the States, so maybe that's probably part of it. But I think this team kind of gets overlooked even in Canada is the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets are winning a ton of games. Connor Hellebuck I keep calling them Helly and the Jets. I don't know if you guys has a good ring to it, but
that's good. That's good.
I really want it to be a thing. And Josh Morrissey on the back end has been lights out for the Winnipeg Jets. He's somewhere, I think he's second in even strength points to Carlson and maybe third overall in points. I think it might go Carlson, Dahlin, Morrissey. I'm a little foggy on that, but he's up there. And who saw that coming? Would you have had Josh Morrissey a third of the way into the season, kind of putting himself into the Norris Trophy conversation.
Yeah.
I highly doubt it. And how many people are talking about him? People are talking about Carlson. People are talking about Dahlin, deservedly so. But I think that that's something that's probably underhyped right now. And because I said Helly and the Jets, I have to throw this at you guys too. When Savannah Jad was playing with a couple of the kids, I kept calling him Papa Mika on the show. I was like, I just want them to stay together so I can call him Papa Mika like forever, for eternity.
I want to throw a name in your heart conversation there.
Okay.
This guy's been tearing it up, and Jonny and I have talked about him quite often as of recent. Tage Thompson.
Oh, I think you were answering the door.
TNT.
No.
Yeah.
Dynamite.
I am leading the Tage Thompson campaign. I comment on all Jackie shit.
I mean,
Tage Thompson.
He's been great.
If you not to like self-promote, but if you go look at the heart rankings that I did, this is like, I think it was last Friday. So it's been a week. And Tage Thompson's put up a lot of goals since I put that post out. Thanks for that, Tage. So many of the comments are just, I guess Tage Thompson doesn't exist. Where's Tage Thompson? Where's Tage Thompson? Where's Tage Thompson? Like, that's basically half of the comments are about Tage Thompson. So I don't think you guys are alone. I think people are obviously on notice. The guy's put himself on the map. But I definitely think he's the MVP of the Sabres.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to keep trolling you about it all year, just so you know. Like,
you won't be alone. You won't be alone. I actually respond. I'm trying to do a better job responding to people online. And so I responded to a bunch of people yesterday, and I was just like, listen, if Buffalo is fighting for a playoff spot, I'll put them in there. Like, that's it. When I made that, they were 8 points out of a playoff spot. I can't put them in there over guys that are on playoff teams that are producing. Like, you want to come at me about Mitch Marner, we can have that debate. Maybe Marner shouldn't be in there, but if I take Marner out, I'm probably putting like Kucherov or Pasternak or someone like that in there. I'm not gonna put a player that's not on a playoff team. But you want to talk about most fun to watch in the NHL? He's definitely in my top 5
for sure.
Like, you would consider the top 5 guys just to watch strictly on entertainment value right now. Who would you put in there?
I would put Thompson. I think
Kaprizov's up there for me. I love watching
Kaprizov play. Kaprizov's up there. You know, Jonny, I love Tkachuk, so I'd have to put him up there. Matthew.
Makar is always in there for me.
Makar's there.
You're biased.
Like,
yeah, I know. This is a hard question though. Like, it's tough. I watch a lot of hockey.
I know I said it before, but like, I would put Igor up there. I think when he, like, some of the saves he make is just like next level. Like, he did that split the other night. When was it, Jonny?
Against Colorado, no?
Yeah, and it was insane.
I'll give one that's like very unbiased because it's the Islanders, and I've said this for a long time. I love watching Matt Barzal play. Yeah. I think he's like the prettiest skater in the league. Like as far as beauty. Yeah,
prettiest skater. Did you say prettiest skater in the league?
Yeah, I did.
Jonny, for a long time, we would troll him because he said Lafreniere was the prettiest skater in the league.
It's not true.
Vince Mercogliano destroyed him. It was great.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Rightfully so. But, Jackie, I want to end on a fun one because, in my experience, I'm like kind of new to the, on-air stuff. But last year during our playoff show, I spilled an entire cup of water all over my pants. Looked like Billy Madison when he does the pee his pants thing and did a whole show like that.
Yeah.
So do you have any funny stories where, let's say something happened prior to recording and you just have to battle with the adversity and get through the show, or any funny like live on-air shit that we wouldn't really see from watching on TV?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to answer because I feel like I do stupid shit. Like I have spilt a coffee like 30 seconds to air all over the studio. I just the other day I bought these roasted edamame like snack whatever, and I'm sitting there eating, and we're getting ready to go on, and I literally dropped the bag, and it was like roasted edamame everywhere. But in terms of like doing things on the air, man, I've done so many.
Happens a lot.
I lost my shit on the air one time. This is in Canada. I'm working at the Score. I used to do this it was called Live at the Score. It was a 2-hour-long talk show. We covered all sports, and I worked with a hilarious man named Cam Stewart. He's a great follow if you're into gambling. He is like, that's his specialty, and he's been doing it since before it was cool, I guess, because he was doing this in he was our gambling expert in 2012, 2013.
Oh, wow.
But I was working with him, and he was making his picks, and I always had a red hot dog in the night, so it had to be an underdog. And he's going through his picks, and he's like making like animal sounds for like whatever the team was. Yeah, and I just like, for whatever reason, like I lost it. Like he did like a wildcat, and he was like, and I just start laughing my ass off to the point that I could not. Sorry, I was giving my pick, and he started making like sounds. And I think I was talking about like the Devils and the Panthers, maybe, whatever. I'm making my pick, and he like does an animal sound, and then I'm trying to speak, but I'm laughing so hard that I can't, like I have tears. I like can't even regain myself. And I say Devils, and he's like, Devils. He's like just going crazy beside me. That's so amazing. I get to my pick, but I'm laughing so hard that I almost, inside, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get myself together and go to break. Like, I still have the clip somewhere. I post it every once in a while to be like, this is one of my favorite moments ever. But yeah, I'm just like losing my mind. And it was very clear that I just couldn't stop laughing. Like I broke, and it was over for me. And he just would not let up. So that's probably like, it's not embarrassing, but it's kind of funny.
No, yeah,
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
And now I actually
have a great one. I'm sorry. I have an all-timer. Okay. And then I will stop rambling on and on. Okay, so I work at NHL Network, but we are in the same build. Like I'm on an MLB Network contract, if that makes sense. They own and operate NHL Network. So one of my first summers there, they started putting me on showcase games in the summer, which was awesome. I was like working with Bob Costas. I was doing sideline reporting. It was great. So I'm doing a Mets game. I don't even remember who they were playing, but in the half inning, I had to go over to the other dugout and interview the manager. So I have a producer with me. We go over there. It's like literally one question, and then get back to they had like a little carved out spot for you beside the dugout. So I go over, I ask the question, we wrap it. I'm like, oh my God, I see it's Marcus Stroman on the mound, right? I'm like, oh my God, do we have time to get over there? And the producer is already almost over to the other side. Like he like bolted without me. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, do I have time? Because I'm panicking. He's like, yeah, you have time. Gentlemen, I did not have time. I fucking delayed the game. Like you can see me running behind home plate, and all you hear is Bob Costas go, and there goes Jackie. I'm literally running behind the thing. Get over there. The whole team in the dugout is like, what are you doing? And like, I'm pretty sure Stroman was like legit frustrated with me. And I was like, I'm so sorry. But Twitter like had a field day with it. This was like 5 years ago probably. But yeah, it was gift. I'm in heels. I'm like running behind home plate. And it's just like the caption on the GIF is, there goes Jackie.
Being a massive baseball fan, that's incredible.
I never thought that I would have Bob Costas call play-by-play of Jackie Redmond, and I could put that on my bucket list.
Got that for life.
That is true. And I just have to ask now if you have time for just like one little quick
go for it. I can be late for my meeting. It's fine. It would be the first time, let me tell you.
Well, I just have to ask now because, you tell a story like that. Is there any like NHL, player sideline where you were like, just kind of left like, oh my God, like what the fuck did I just say? Or like what just happened?
Not like what did I just one time, now that we're talking, I got tons. My first year, I had this segment that I wanted to do anytime I was on location. I wanted to do rapid fire questions at the end of every interview. And it was like stupid shit. Like, what's your favorite TV show? What's something you're bad at? What's your pet peeve? Like just dumb stuff to see what I would get out of these guys.
Fun stuff.
So I go to interview Matt Barzell, and it's so funny. So whatever, I do the interview, have a great interview. Like he actually like watched a reality show that I was on in Canada like a long time ago. So whatever, banter's great, right? I get to the rapid fire part, and I don't remember what the question was. Let's say it was like, what's your pet peeve or whatever. I asked the question, he's answering, and then I go, what's your pet peeve? And he goes, you literally just asked me. Like I asked him the same question back to back because I like lost where I was and didn't realize that I'd already asked it. We were dying after. And then Islanders fans obviously were all over me for it.
It was live?
It wasn't live, but we left it in because our show loves that shit. So we left it in and we aired it because we thought it was so funny. But he just deadpans me. He's like, "You literally just asked me that."
That's
That's
amazing.
hilarious.
That's
I'm just
great.
gonna see myself out now. This is so.
That's good stuff.
Oh,
but
well, Jackie, this was amazing. We would love to have you on again. Anytime. You're welcome. This was great, and sorry for making you late.
You guys are awesome. I will come on anytime. And I promise for all the Rangers fans listening that were like, you barely talked about the Rangers, we can come on and strictly talk Rangers next time.
All right. We'll hold you to it.
Okay.
Thank you, Jackie. You're the best.
Yeah. Bye.
We want to thank our good friend Jackie Redmond for coming on. Always fun talking to her. Probably the best there is when it comes to hockey media and just, having fun with the game. So really happy she was able to come on. Cody, I know it's your favorite part of the show. Do you want to do the draft?
Yes, but also I was going to say Jackie is a lovely person.
Yes.
She also has my wife's name, so obviously, bonus points for her. But that being said, we have a really good draft today, time of the season. So it is going to be, what are your favorite 3 holiday movies? I will give you first pick because you always suck at this. So, you have some extra time to think. So go for it.
So mine's actually, and I have this on the top of my head, mine's actually a newer one.
Okay.
And I don't know how people feel about it, but I think it's fucking hilarious. And it's The Night Before with Seth Rogen.
I'm out.
Why?
I'm out.
You don't like that movie?
That was literally my fucking pick.
Oh, really?
Rick.
I love that movie.
Oh my gosh, dude, that
I
movie.
love that movie. The
Dude,
scene where he's in the nativity scene, and he's talking to the deer.
I'm so mad you just said that. You have no idea. I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to say The Night Before with my second pick, and it's going to be such a classic. And I thought you were going to be like, oh, I've never seen it. And I was going to be like, dude, you have to see it. So, fun fact, I saw that movie, like, I don't know, when it came out in theaters, a little, I was a little.
It was at least 6 years ago.
Yeah. And it was, I don't think I've ever laughed as hard at a movie in my entire life. I think that's like number one. Like there was just every single scene, like Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt together were an elite combo. And then Anthony Mackie just on top because he's pretty funny too. Like that was that was awesome.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie. Like literally the scene where he is like tripping balls in the nativity scene, like talking like, I'm Spencer. I was like, shit cracks me up.
Also, oh my gosh, why is her name escaping me from Mean Girls? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, she's in Hot Tub Time Machine also.
She's in so much stuff. Lizzie Kaplan. Yeah, she was really good in it too. But anyways, all right. That was a good one. For my first pick, got to go with a classic, but I'm going with 8 Crazy Nights.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That is a classic. Yeah, it's a good movie. I fucking love that movie. I wish they would do another one, but I don't know. Maybe they'll ruin it. All right, let me go with my second pick.
I was gonna say, if you say my second pick too, let's just end it.
Well, I'm just gonna go based on childhood.
Okay.
Like Elf is obviously up there, but like, I don't want to say Elf. It's like so basic and obvious. Like that is like hands down the best Christmas movie. I don't think anyone can argue that. Like,
yeah,
but I think I've seen it just too many times, so I don't want to use that. But it had to be said. I'm going with the Santa Claus 2. The Tim Allen movies. I like the second one a lot.
Santa Claus. They actually just made like Disney Plus Santa Claus series. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, with Tim Allen. Like they got them all back on Disney Plus. I haven't watched it. We like started it for like 5 minutes and then got distracted and never watched it again. But yeah, that's good. This is tough. Okay, so you're going with Santa Claus 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with the classic one too, and I'm going to go with Deck the Halls.
Never seen it.
Wow, with Danny DeVito? Got to see
Never
it.
seen it.
Really funny. Really funny.
I'm like blanking on holiday movie. It's any holiday movie or it's like
any holiday movie. Any holiday movie. You could say Die Hard if you want.
Die Hard's a holiday movie?
There's a huge debate in life about if Die Hard's a Christmas movie or not, because it always would come out over Christmas. Fun fact, but
I might need you to go third here. I might need another second to think.
Okay. I feel like I've been going with funny ones. But you know what? This one's actually pretty good, and it's another classic, and it's it's a little bit more mature, but I am gonna go with Bad Santa, Billy Bob Thornton, but also we have a guest appearance, and my wife wants us to go with The Holiday.
Never seen The Holiday. What's
Me
that?
neither, I don't think. But that is her choice.
Okay.
It's a 2006 film with Cameron Diaz and Jude Law. So Johnny and I will certainly watch that next.
Yeah. I actually watched. I'll give this one because I watched it last week. 4 Christmases I watched for the first time.
I don't know if I watched that.
Oh, Vince Vaughn, great movie. I
Christmases.
watched it on
Oh, you know
Thursday
what?
night.
Wait a second. What's that about?
It's Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon. They like go to their. I guess they're like both their parents are divorced, so they go to all 4 different.
Okay, I've watched it.
Christmases.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It was pretty funny. I'll give that one. I'm like blanking on any other hot.
Well, that's it.
Are
That's
there
all
any
we
Thanksgiving movies?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't counting. I was really counting like
Christmas and
Christmas
Hanukkah.
time, Hanukkah. Yeah.
Like Halloween. Is there a Halloween one? Like I don't even know. Like,
Dude, Halloween Town. Come on.
oh, I guess there's a lot. There's a
That's
shit
a
ton of
classic. There's a lot of good Halloween ones, man.
I guess Home Alone 2 would also be. I think that's.
I was thinking of Home Alone. I was thinking of Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's it for the draft. That was pretty good. I'm still a little
way
excited.
better than our last one. Our last one sucked.
Yeah, but I can't believe you said the night before, man.
I know. I love that movie.
But yeah, anyways, this week the Rangers only have 2 games. They have the Penguins on Tuesday and then the Islanders on Thursday, I believe. So what are your predictions for these games?
I might actually go to that Islanders game. I'm still trying to decide. I got to figure it out when I'm going back to Long Island for Christmas and stuff. My predictions Tuesday against the Penguins. Pittsburgh's been fucking hot lately. I think I'm almost positive they're on. Let me just double check this. Last time I saw they were on a 7-game winning streak.
They were adjacent to us, and then they won 1 more. Yes.
Yeah, they're on a 7-game heater right now, and they're playing Carolina as we're talking. So they're buzzing right now. It's in Pittsburgh. We kind of know Igor gets a little rattled there. I do think Pittsburgh wins this game, and I'm going to say 3-1.
I like that prediction. I do think they're going to have a tough time in this game, especially because Pittsburgh's playing really hot, but we're playing hot too. I want us to win. I want to say we will win, but I'm going to go with a Pittsburgh win 4-3 in overtime.
Who's the overtime hero?
We get a point out of it. Who's the overtime hero? I mean, I guess I'll just say Jake Gensel because that guy kills us. And then we got the Islanders, and I feel like our luck will finally turn against them this year. We'll finally have a good game. Igor, let's hope he has a good game. And I am going to go with a 2-1 win.
Okay, so you have the Rangers win. Oh, no, you have them losing in overtime, you said? Yeah.
Losing in overtime, winning, and then in regulation, but getting points out of, it's like 13 out of 14, as long as they beat the Hawks, which we don't know.
The Islanders have been a weird team. I'm going to say the Rangers win also, and I'm going to say 4-2.
Okay.
And that's really it. And then we got Christmas next weekend, so you guys won't hear from us until Christmas or till after Christmas. So, do you have any final thoughts? I want to say just Merry Christmas to everybody celebrating.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. And, I hope you all get to celebrate with your loved ones. And, stay tuned. We're going to have some more great guests lined up in the coming weeks and months. And we also have a few cool segments lined up that we want to try out. Looking forward to it. And LFGR, baby.
Love you all. Happy holidays.